I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.
Fury fam, Miami Dolphins fan-addicts, Fin Nation, fins up everywhere. What's up? Welcome to the show. It's an instant reaction on Phin-Addict Fury. I'm your host, Larry K. We did, in fact, win. We beat the New England Patriots. We started the season 1-0, which is what we wanted to do, which is what many of us predicted we would do. That means, you know what that means? This Wednesday at 7, I'm going to be popping the champagne with my man Shake Man, and we're going to do a little ritual. We might have to make it an annual thing. It's always nice to get off to a good start and beat the New England Patriots of all teams. It's a division rival, not to mention they've been so good for so long. That being said, I do think some of us expected maybe a little bit more out of certain aspects of the team, maybe the offense, and it didn't look like we necessarily were as solid and flawless as we might like to be. But it's game one, first of all. And a lot of things can get corrected and a lot of things can get cleaned up as the season progresses. So it's always nice to learn from the W winning column, as opposed to learning from the loss column. So it is good that we got out and won. And another thing to remember is just because the Patriots aren't necessarily going to be great this year, that doesn't mean this is like a Power 5 college team against an FCS team or something, and we should have blown them out of the water. We were in charge of that game pretty much from start to finish, which is a beautiful thing. Imagine saying that a few years ago against the New England Patriots. We were in charge of that game from start to finish. The game really was never in doubt, and that's always a good showing. That's what you want to see. That's how you want to start off the year for sure. Look, I'll break down some stats. I thought Tua played pretty damn well. He was threw for 270 yards on 23 of 33 passing for one touchdown, no interceptions. He had a quarterback rating of a 104.4. That is a good stat line. When I said I wanted to see Tua show out this year, I wouldn't necessarily call that showing out, but that is a good step in the right direction when you're looking back on the season. That's the first step towards showing out this year. I thought Tua played well. I thought some of the balls that I saw were very well placed. I thought the ball came out of his hands in a very nice spiral, very on target. I thought he made some good reads. I thought he played overall well. That being said, we all saw it, and you can't deny it. Towards the end of the game, we could have had a catastrophe. Tua made an ill-advised throw that really should have gone for an interception. And we're lucky that it was dropped, because at that juncture of the game, with the score being what it was and where we were on the field, that was really, really dangerous. And so there is still some boom-bust potential with Tua. And I wouldn't call it boom-bust, because boom-bust insinuates that it's like a gunslinger mentality. It's more of a methodical march down the field. But there is that bust potential still with some reads that we saw that were questionable. There was another pass where he had, well, the commentator said, and it did look like he had Hill across the middle, possibly for a touchdown, but he went for a quick check down to Mike Gesicki. Whether or not that would have actually gone for a touchdown is debatable, but I think there was a window probably downfield to get that ball to Hill. It's kind of interesting because when you're going through your progressions, right, if progressions are there for a reason. It's 1, 2, 3. There's looks that you have. Certain play designs are designed to go short or designed to go long or designed to depend on a certain read of the defender. And therefore, just because your B option may come open, it may be deeper, doesn't necessarily mean that you're ever going to get to your B read if your A read is open. Or if you're reading a defender, that instant first read is there, doesn't mean you're going to get to your second one. So I don't want to harp too much on things like that. I think in a loss, we'd harp on it a little more, which makes sense, right? Because you want to win the game, and if you come up short, you're going to look at every opportunity you had to maximize your potential and where you didn't. But that wasn't the case this game. We won the game. And I really do think the first three quarters, especially Tua, played well. What I will say is, and we all know this, and this is kind of disappointing, but yet it shouldn't be surprising given kind of how we dealt with the offseason and where we put our effort in terms of acquiring personnel and things. Is anybody surprised that the offensive line looked still kind of like a work in progress, still like a question mark? I think we will see that offensive line start to gel a little better. Austin Jackson went down. I don't think we lost that much of a step when Little came in. But the line was not very good. I mean, I think, I said at the beginning of the year that there's no excuses for Tua. He's got all these weapons. It's year 3. It's time to put up or shut up. But I got to be honest with you. If the offensive line keeps playing that way and Tua keeps putting up the numbers he's putting up, he might have an excuse if he doesn't ball the hell out all the way to, as far as we want him to. Because that line was not giving him enough time. That line was not protecting him well enough. And also, look, I'll give you some stats, too, to pivot. Still talk about the line, but pivot to the running game. Chase Edmonds, 25 yards on 12 carries, 2.5 yard per carry average. Mostert didn't fare much better. 5 carries, 16 yards on those 5 carries, 3.2 yard average. Obviously, we had to reverse the end around with Wilson, who had 1 carry for 8 yards, so he had an 8 yard per carry average. Look, I don't know, too, because we're talking about the New England Patriots here, right? So we can speculate all we want on the New England Patriots, right? About, are they good? Do they have an offensive coordinator? Or have they lost a step? Is Belichick, has the game passed him by? Blah, blah, blah. We don't know yet, right? We don't have a large enough sample size to truly know how good or how bad the New England Patriots are right now, right? So I'm not going to necessarily say the line's just pathetic, our running game is just terrible, blah, 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 even though we did see some indicators in the preseason that may have let us know that perhaps the rushing game could be an issue. It seemed as though Belichick, and it has seemed this way for a few years, especially with Mac Jones at the helm, Belichick is going back to his roots, his early 2000s, his, Bill Parcells tree roots, and he's building up the trenches, and he's going to focus on stopping the run, and he's going to try to run the ball. And if you look at how the Patriots executed their game plan, to the best of their ability, they were able to run the ball. And we stopped them when we needed it. It was bend, don't break. But they were able to run the ball, and they keyed in on stopping the run. So I'm not going to necessarily off the bat just start saying that our rushing attack is in peril. But today, I think if you're looking at a weakness, I think the offensive line would have to be one of your concerns, given the fact that we looked like we were struggling in protection and given the fact that our rushing game wasn't very good. That being said, I still see signs that there's, encouraging signs in that aspect of the game. I think we will improve. I think the line still needs to gel. I did see some plays where he had a decently clean pocket, and we did see especially Edmonds get out there and lower his shoulder and get some yards, even if it was hard. And again, we will see if that was more because the Patriots, the way they play, the way they key in, and how well they do against other teams, or if this is a problem with us. But I do think the O-line needs some work, and, if you want Tua to reach his full potential, you better protect him. Wideouts, man, Hill is as advertised. We didn't get to see any deep shots, but I think that was more a problem with the protection. But we did get the ball down there. A lot of people were down on Tua for the one throw he made where Hill was covered, but Hill came down with the ball, could have been intercepted. I'm not down on Tua at all about that. That's what you want Tua to do. He's got a receiver that's a playmaker that he trusts. You throw it up there. You give him a chance to make the play. That's exactly what Tua did. He knew what he was doing. He made the catch. He came down with the catch. It was a big chunk play. It was needed. I liked it. Jalen Waddle, I've long expected him to have a good season because I do think Patriots didn't necessarily key in on Hill, and exclusively shift a bunch of coverage to him to leave Waddle just wide open. And I think any team that does that is asking for trouble with Waddle. But I do think teams are going to start to emphasize defending and taking away Hill, even though they'll never be able to fully take him away. But they will try to emphasize it the more that they see that our offense kind of flows through Hill. But that's beautiful for us because that opens up a lot for Jalen Waddle. And I was early in the game kind of like, where the heck is Waddle? And that fourth down before the end of the half play to Waddle was a thing of beauty. And I'll tell you why. Tua fitted into the perfect window. Waddle ran a perfect route. The ball was perfectly placed. Waddle made a perfect catch. He sprinted and accelerated right into the end zone. It was great. Not only that, it was a great play call by McDaniel. It was the right call, and I'll get to that in a second. But when I saw Waddle finally try to make his impact, I was excited because Hill is a superstar player. But Waddle is not just a very good player. Waddle is not just a nice young piece. Waddle is a superstar player too. And watch him reach his potential. And watch what Waddle's going to be able to do. And I expect a big season for Waddle this year because of the weapons we have. Because Hill's going to take some attention from defensive coordinators. And I want to move with that play call in mind to the head coaching job. McDaniel's job today. I thought he was very good. There wasn't one call on that field, other than maybe passing late in the fourth quarter. That I didn't quite understand. I don't know why you don't just try to run. Except, I mean, look, New England was keying in on the run, and maybe he wanted to keep them honest, and the best way to move the ball down the field was to pass. I mean, Tua had been having a good game up to that point. Why not let him throw? Maybe that's the only thing. Other than that, I thought he was very good. He looked poised on the sideline. I liked all of his play calls. I thought he mixed it up well. I thought he got the ball in a lot of good playmakers' hands. I thought that fourth down call at the end of the half was a no-brainer. I know one of the commentators, Archuleta, said, oh, I don't like this call, and then laughed and said, oh, I loved it. That was a very good call. It was a no-brainer to me. I mean, that's the kind of call that head coaches sometimes don't make, and you want them to. What do you have to lose? It's fourth down. There's 18 seconds left. Worst that happens, you don't convert. New England gets it with 18 seconds. They may well still just kneel the ball the way they did anyway. But you call that fourth down. You try to put points on the board. That was big for our offense. That was big for the confidence. And that also changed the dynamic of the game going into the second half, right? Because if you don't score there, the dynamic of the game is vastly different. It's 10-0. And even though New England comes out in the second half and scores, when we were up 17-0, and then we were able to put 3 points on the board, the just dynamic of the game changes. The way that you play that game changes. It goes from a close game to a game that you have a couple scores up on them. And so that was a big thing for us to do that. I thought McDaniel did a very good job. Josh Boyer and the defense, I thought it was interesting. You're kind of seeing some of what we saw early last year where we were bringing less men in the rush and relying on coverage, and I think we kind of fell into that bend but don't break thing again, where New England was able to run the ball, and they were able to protect Mac Jones pretty well early on, but when we brought pressure on the blitz, that Brandon Jones sack for the fumble with the touchdown, Melvin Ingram touchdown, was a thing of beauty. I mean, and X, I know there was a little, back and forth hitting in the end zone when X hit up that beautiful ball for the interception. That's what X does, man. He's going to make plays. I think Nick Needham, he had his troubles here and there covering for Byron Jones. The optimistic thing, the good thing if you're a Dolphins fan, is that when Jones comes back, Needham shifts back into the slot, and we have a very good defense because they held pretty pat today. Now, are the Pats the best passing team in the league? No. We're going to see when we play the Bills how that goes. And we're also going to see when we play the Bills and some other teams that have better passing attacks, are we going to sit back and stick with this, type of defense, or are we going to start bringing the heat, bringing the house like we are known for, like we had done at the end of last year? And I know there was some analysis last year that part of the reason we didn't start bringing the heat until the second half of last season was due to injury. That could be the same case now with Jones out and whatnot, but we'll see. I think Jalen Phillips, who I'm very high on, specifically as a pass rusher. He did redeem himself at the end of the game with that fumble recovery. But I thought he had a rough day in spots. I think part of the problem that we're seeing with the defense early is that Jalen Phillips is a very talented, very promising pass rusher, and he's got a good skill set for an outside linebacker, and there's a ton of potential there. So I think the coaching staff is anxious to make him an every down outside linebacker, and that obviously, for obvious reasons, is going to make it that much harder for offensive coordinators and quarterbacks to know what's coming, because if he's in there every down, you never know if he's coming, if he's covering, what he's doing. But the fact remains that he still struggles a little bit when he has to cover, when he has to be, covering the outside edge and things of that nature. I thought there were a few plays where he looked like he just couldn't handle the coverage, and he couldn't, handle his assignment on the edge, when he's really great when he pins his ears back and goes after the quarterback. But he's got work to do. I do think he can get there, but if we're looking for somebody who might need a little work, I think it could be Jalen Phillips. It's something to watch as the season progresses. I think the defense in general is something to watch as the season progresses. Do we bring the house? Are we more of a pressure-oriented defense in general when we have Byron Jones back? Are we more of a pressure-oriented defense depending upon our opponent? Or are we going to try to be more balanced the way we look today and bring the heat when we need to, and other times kind of confuse them? I'm curious about it. I think after a couple hits on Mac Jones, he was rattled. And I think you saw in the second half Mac Jones just missing throws and kind of off kilter, off his game. I think that was a direct result of him getting hit when we did start to bring the pressure, and him going down a few times. We knocked him out of his element. And that's going to happen to a lot of quarterbacks, especially quarterbacks playing us. So, this is why you have playmakers like X who are going to come out with big turnovers like that. This is why you got Melvin Ingram to go in there and make, the touchdown he did, and he made a bunch of other plays. This is why you bring these guys in. And then on offense, look, we were having a debate on the live show, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, about the offensive line and whether everything springs from the offensive line. I think there's a complex, answer to that, and it's nuanced, and there's no right answer per se, but I think a lot of things flow from the trenches in football. And I think you saw the reason the offense it wasn't inefficient, right? It won the game. We got the touchdown we needed. We drove to kick the other field goal. But at the end of the day, it's not like the offense was as explosive as we wanted, and it's certainly not as explosive as we're going to need in the future to go toe-to-toe with some of these higher-powered teams. I think a lot of it comes down to the trenches and the initial, momentum of the offensive line. And the one thing I want to see the most improvement on is the play of that offensive line, because I think the better they play, the more time Tua has, the more efficient the running game is. That opens things up all over the field, and I think it's going to help us get to that pinnacle of productivity that we've been longing for, that we've wanted. So I'm waiting to see how that pans out. Overall, I think, we won like we should. We won handily. Remember, last year, it came down to X having to force a fumble or we were going to lose that game. That wasn't the case this year. We were pretty much in control of that game from start to finish. Now, the offense wasn't really responsible for us being, in control from start to finish. Our defense did. But that's what we expect out of our defense, right? And usually defenses are ahead of offenses early in the year. We expect our defense to create turnovers. We expect our defense to keep us in the game. We expect our defense to be stout and to hold opponents to lower point totals. If we can get that other shoe to drop and just put all the pieces together on offense, I think we have a chance to be a very good team and a playoff contender. And like I said, if Tua gets protection and he, a little bit of pause at the end of the game there, a little bit of pause with some of his decisions. But if he can clean that up and keep playing the way he is, he'll do very well. I mean, he went for 270 yards passing today. 270 yards passing. That's good. So I'm not worried. I thought Tua looked good. I thought he looked better than I've seen him look in a lot of the games last year. So I'm very encouraged by Tua. Some other stats. Hill had 8 receptions for 94 yards. Waddle had 4 receptions for 69 yards and the touchdown. Edmonds had 4 receptions for 40 yards. Wilson had 2 receptions for 20 yards. I mean, we got a lot of guys involved. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 guys involved in the passing game. So the offense is certainly working the way it's supposed to do. It was creative. There's different schematic ways we tried to get guys open, try to get the ball in our playmakers' hands. I think it worked out well. That's credit to McDaniel. I think he and Boyer seemed to work well together. There didn't seem to be any miscommunication with the game plan, or we did play complementary football. When the offense needed a couple, a drive to get a couple first downs or just get a field goal to seal it, they did it. When the defense needed to stop or to change momentum, they did it. When the defense had to get the offense the ball back because the offense struggled, they did it. When the defense gave up the one touchdown, offense had to come back and put points on the board, they did it. That's how. And then special teams, Sanders hitting the long field goals. This is how you win games. The team looks good, and I don't know if you paid attention, but at the end of the game, you could see guys from both sides of the ball, all kinds, old guard, new guys, whatever, going up to McDaniel, smiling, bright-eyed, congratulating him. I think they definitely do like this coach. I think when you win, obviously everybody likes the coach more because his game plan's coming to fruition and it's doing what it's supposed to do. But I think overall it was a good first outing. We're gonna pop champagne on Wednesday, Shake and I, and make sure you join us Wednesday at 7. And I'm happy with it. I just just pay attention to the things that we need to work on. The last thing I'll say is Mike Gesicki, man, I'm a fan of him. I still think he'll have a game or two here where we use him as a playmaker and we surprise a defense. But I will say, as of now, the fact and the truth is, and it's just evident, he doesn't seem to have a great role in this offense. It just doesn't seem like they know how to utilize him. Again, I'm waiting on McDaniel. I believe in McDaniel. Waiting on him. Find a way against a certain opponent where you're going to surprise them or where it's going to benefit us. Find a way to get him involved because he's a playmaker. Show us that you can use the most of the talent you have, even if they're not the ideal talent. If we got him for 1 year, use him for this 1 year. I want to see that happen. I'm just curious about it. That was one other thing I noticed. But overall, guys, big win. We go to Baltimore next week. Baltimore took care of the Jets pretty handily today. So we'll see, what happens with them next week. I still think it's going to be tough going away and trying to beat them. And if we're going to beat them and we're going to do so with any level of confidence, we better get that O-line playing a little bit better. And I think we will continue to see the team trajectory head in the right direction. And it's nothing better than a win on a Sunday. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. If you haven't smashed the subscribe button on this channel yet, if you found yourself here just watching, you found yourself here because you were interested in, just any football teams, post games, or you're a Dolphins fan, you're new to the YouTube space, you haven't seen my channel before, you've seen it, but you just haven't, went that extra step and smashed subscribe, please hit subscribe. We have a lot of good content on here. We have a lot of things going on. We have the live show every Wednesday at 7, so join us Wednesday at 7 for the live show. It's a good show. The panel's good. It's a kind of a studious, intellectual panel, I like to call it. But smash this like button. Please share this video on your Dolphins chats and your group chats, on the message boards. Get the word out about this channel. We do pretty decent, little analysis, little reactions, little talks, and it's just one more content creator for the Miami Dolphins, fan base, and for Fin Nation. Fury Fam is in the building, and we have our own thing going here, so nothing wrong with joining us and keeping up with your other big channels that you're fans of. Smash the subscribe button if you get a chance. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the love that I get. I appreciate all the interaction I get. Drop a comment below if you agree, if you don't agree, if you want to build upon or expand upon anything that I said. Until then, guys, I'll see you Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Fins up, Patriots down. Let's go.
I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of